Hello and welcome to this video on factor and remainder theorem. Now, factor and remainder theorem again is something we've seen in Core 2 before. However, it is again in Core 4 because we like to make things slightly more difficult for ourselves and just add in some new stuff. Now, as you can hopefully see, we have a question, or should we say we have a couple of things. 18x squared minus 9x minus 5 and 3x plus 1 in the brackets. This is a mental note to myself. Anyway. The question is that, first of all, we need to prove that 3x plus 1 is a factor of f of x equals 18x squared minus 9x minus 5. And then we need to go and work out what the other factor is of that. Now then, quite simply, 3x plus 1 equals 0. X was going to be minus 1/3. Agreed? So now what we do is we sub minus 1/3 into the equation. So what do we have here? We've got 18 lots of minus 1/3 all squared minus 9 lots of 1 over 3 or minus 1 over 3 minus 5. This gives us, well, minus 1/3 squared is 9, so that'll be 2 plus 3 minus 5 equals 0. Thus, and this is important, otherwise you can't get more marks, to say, therefore, 3x plus 1 is a factor. So that is, so if you are given a bracket with like 3x or 2x or whatever plus something, what you do is you work out what value of x you need to put in the bracket to make it equal to 0, sub that in and see what happens. Now briefly, before we continue to the next part of the equation, the next part of the question, I'm going to show you the remainder theorem, because the remainder theorem is exactly the same, just you're going to end up with a remainder effectively. So if we have our 18x squared minus 9x minus 5, but instead we have a bracket of 2x minus 3, well, this is going to cause us a bit of an issue because it doesn't go. We just know that it just won't go. I mean, we're going to prove, well actually we don't need to prove it because the question will say, using the remainder theorem, find out what the remainder is. So in this case we have 2x minus 3 equals 0, x will be equal to 3 over 2. So what we can do is we can go f of x equals 18 lots of 3 over 2 minus 9 lots of 3 over 2 minus 5 equals, well, 18 lots of 3 over 2, 18 times 3 over 2, excuse me 1 second, 27 minus 27 over 2 minus 5. Excuse me while I correct the state of my 5s. Equals 8.5. Therefore we know that 2x minus 3 is not a factor, as there is a remainder of 8.5. So that is how the factor theorem works and how the remainder theorem works. Basically, you do exactly the same thing. Just one you end up with one you end up with 0, and that shows it's a factor, and then, and the other one you end up with a number, which is your remainder, etc. Now we're going to move on to the second part of that question. I know we've done things in a slightly higgledy-piggledy order, but for the sake of this, we're just going to do it like that. Feel free to criticise me in the comments section. So what we have is 3x plus 1, and we're going to divide that by 18x squared minus 9x minus 5. Now then, we'll start at the beginning. How many 3x is going to 18x squared? Well, personally, I think it's 6x, but anyway, keep going. We can write 18x squared, and because we know it goes into because we know 3x goes into 18x squared 6 times, we're going to write 18x squared minus 6x, sorry, plus 6x, because it's 3x plus 1. Now then, we can minus them both from each other to cancel the 18x squareds, so we end up with minus 9x, minus 6x, minus 15x. Minus 15x minus 5. Now, if we were to times 3x by, if we were to divide minus 15x by 3, we'd end up with minus 5x, so we've got to times it by minus 5, everything. So we end up with minus 15x minus 5. Oh look, that nicely cancelled. How convenient. So then, what have we got today? Now, for our original equation, we're going to have 18x minus 15. Now then, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's something quite interesting about 18x minus 15. You can take out a factor of 3. So what we now have effectively is we have our two factors. We have 3x plus 1 and 6x minus 5. So all we need to do now is work out what the values of x are. So x is going to be minus 1/3 and x is going to be 5/6. Now then, I hope that was useful and I look forward to seeing you next time.